To me, it's a waste to build a temporary building and then just bulldoze it and put it away. So our first goal was to design it in such a way that, let's say on Princess Island, if they need a pavilion, you could just dismantle it and put it over there or somewhere else. Second, it has to convey the message of East Village that we hope to do, which is also the warmth of the human contact. That's why we use the wood V's to signify the wood beam like in the Simmons building. We didn't want to use brick because it still has to be modern and of its time, and it has to have certain drama to attract people. So that's the other thing. And the third thing we wanted to do is to demonstrate the relationship to the landscape.
When we started concepting a vision and a design concept for the East Village Sales Center, we first started out knowing that the story about the city and the revitalization of the neighborhood needed to be front and center. The challenge was thinking about how to relate that story about the neighborhood to the stories and the presentations of individual developers and the products that they were going to be selling in the neighborhood. Typically, those developers would operate under their own roofs with their own sales centers, and our challenge was to try and figure and have to convince them of the logic of bringing it all under one roof together and under the umbrella of the East Village brand.
We want to try to send out a whole bunch of messages about what East Village is different than the typical development in Calgary. Not Beltline, not some of the other waterfront developments that happened, right? They were just buildings pumped onto the thing. So the whole marketing center is completely transparent. So when you approach it, you can see right through it to the river. And from the river looking back with the wood posts, it blends with the tree trunks and so on. So here we want to tell people that there is a different sensibility at work here, that there is a finer grain, there's a texture, material, and coloration. Because even the street lamp that they put in East Village is different than the typical thing, right? So we're actually following on the master plan. That's why I was really excited and I think it was brilliant that they paved all the streets and planted the street trees, before they sell the land. Because otherwise, a lot of the people would not understand what they're trying to do.
When the Calgary Municipal Land Corporation first asked us here at Resonance to help them think about creating a physical place to tell their story about the revitalization of the neighborhood, and we started out looking at it very much like a visitor center type experience. But at the same time, there were two residential developers that were bringing product online, and it became apparent to us that there was a really unique opportunity here to bring both of those developers under the same roof with CMLC and tell a bigger story. It wasn't obvious to them at first, but pretty soon they realized and understood the value of being part of a bigger story versus having their own individual sales offices and telling a story apart from that of the neighborhood. When you first walk into the sales center, you're actually not met by a receptionist or a wall or required to give any information. You're really free to explore. And our inspiration in that design concept really comes from the very nature of good urban planning. And neighborhoods are places that we wander through, we take different paths, we have different experiences in them depending on what road we take, what time of day it is, who we're with. And the Experience Center really reflects that philosophy in that each time you'll go through it, you'll see different information, you'll be engaged by different screens, you might talk to different people depending on what ambassadors are working that day, and it will be a different experience every time you visit. In a traditional sales center, the process is very linear and very directed, and we tried to do the exact opposite with the East Village Sales Center. With the interactive screens that are presented around the master plan model, you're really free to explore and engage in any way that you choose. And that really allows people to author their own story versus the developer defining what the story is that should be told. And that is more engaging, it's more enriching, and it's more informative for the visitor because they're attracted to and engaged by the things that are naturally of interest to them. So it really allows for them to create a very individual experience as they move through our Experience Center.